Hi there. It's time for something completely different. Well, here's a tidbit. 22 turned 22. That's right. April was the time for Fools, Easter, and for me to complete yet another lap around the sun. So now this Lego cake is much more applicable. Instead of just being 1,000 subscribers special, this is now also lined up with my birthday. So we should do something a little bit different, don't you think? I don't have any more tricks right now, at least. The dower is still in a big trouble. I don't know how to get it to work 100% of the time. We'll get right back with that later on. But first, to celebrate, let's try something different. We're going to... I've said different so many times. Anyways, to celebrate, I'm releasing my app as of right now. It has been over a year, after all. But wait, before you go, you probably should know what it's called. It's called Domnibus. No, not Domino Bus. It's Domnibus, a portmanteau between Domino and Omnibus. A word which here means a collection of tricks about dominoes. I picked up the word from a book comparable to the Bible, which was the Origami Omnibus by Kunihiko Kasahara. Of course, an app would be much smaller and lighter. So, let's get right to it. You can find the alpha version as Domnibus Alpha in the Google Play Store. As time goes on, I'll send new updates your way. I opted for Android, and according to the survey, 12% of you will be able to get a download of this. Note that at minimum, your device must have Android Lollipop or higher, so that would be like Marshmallow, Nougat, and when released, Oreo. I'll work on making Domnibus more compatible with other devices in the future. But to the 49% who has an iOS device, that is iPhone, iPod Touch, etc., you're out of luck here. But wait, there is more, so stay tuned, or look in the description below for timestamps to other relevant parts for you in this video. For you lucky few, here's some more info about the app, and to everyone else, you can skip ahead or stick around to see what you're missing out on, and maybe even consider choosing Android as your next phone. Now, many of you have already filled out the questionnaire, as I mentioned, and made many cool suggestions for features to add later on. You're still welcome to fill out the survey if you haven't already. Again, you can find a link to that in the description below. Now back to stats. Now, all of you who have responded in the questionnaire had admitted to making kinetic art at some point of time in your lifetime. And 49% of you actually make videos here on YouTube. If you combine that with the fact that 82% of you believe that tricks should be organized at all, we could see that there is definitely some motivation to make toppling much easier to learn and look up. Currently, I am planning on developing 2 versions of the app, a free one supported by ads, and another with a one-time purchase and extra features. A third of you like the idea of a one-time purchase, while 27% of you like the idea of in-app purchases. The only way to make that reasonable, in-app purchases, would be to lock different forms of kinetic art behind a paywall. But since nearly all of you spend most of your time building in dominoes, and that's the area I know best, I decided to focus on dominoes alone, at least for now. I don't think anyone would like to buy trick packs or anything along those lines. Anyways, for those who can download it, I highly suggest you go out, install it now, play around with it for a bit, then continue this video. If you had any issues at all, feel free to send feedback my way through the App Store. It won't be visible to anybody else, just me, because this is the alpha unreleased version. If you really want to, you can also put a comment down below in this video. Alright, let's see an overview of what this is. Now here we are. That's my cell phone. Let's click into the app. There's a splash page, and you can see first off we have the hub. From here we can select a trick by tapping the square above, and we're greeted with many different tricks. We'll start off with 22. What else? And at the top you can filter by trick type. So if you tap here, you're met with a bunch of different options. Hopefully they're self-explanatory, but just to be sure, we'll skip the first 2. The green one means you have a trick that goes straight across, straight through. The purple one means a trick that turns 90 degrees. Red one is for tricks that split. The blue one is for tricks that bridge over, and I think the yellow one is clear. That's when you make a 180 degree turn, or like a direction changer or a direction reverser. You have this one, which is to represent, well, a cube or any kind of structure. You have a tower, whoops. You have a tower, you have a wall, and you have fields. And as you've already seen me accidentally demonstrate, by tapping any of these types, not unlock, you can filter tricks by that type. At the top, we have two selections that encompass all of the other tricks or versions. So this guy actually means everything, so all types. And the one below that, as you can see, I sort of removed most of it, most of the insides of the representation. So that means anything else. So that would be like miscellaneous tricks. Those other bits here are not actually available right now. If you tap on it, it says, sorry, the online Domnibus database is not available. And same thing with create your own tricks. But actually, that's not quite true. I'm going to show you why later on. But for now, let's just select a trick. So you just tap what you'd like. So let's go with this one, which seems very familiar. And now you can see that the hub has updated with a little bit more of a description. So you have the image updated up here in the square. We have the name Fainters down below. And you also have a demo video. So let's press play. Alright, so that was that. The first thing, or maybe last thing to show you, would be the video tutorial. So right now I just have my video tutorials on here, but over time perhaps we could have other people also add theirs in. But for now, as mentioned, this is one of mine. So that's the Fainters tutorial, and clearly, okay. So as you can see, we've got the Fainters tutorial starting up here. At the bottom, we have a little bit more information. So these are a list of timestamps with a bit of extra information for specific points in the video. If you want to jump to one point in this video, for example, triggering a fainter, ending a fainter, let's see, let's skip to the end. Long line of fainters. You could just tap on the section and it will jump to that part of the video. So hopefully that would be a little bit more helpful when you are trying to navigate the YouTube video, so you don't have to scroll down into the description and click on it, and you have to jump between different apps, YouTube or the Domnibus app. Of course, right now the player includes the YouTube logo. If you tap that, it will bring you to the actual YouTube app. So that will help you with navigating if you really want to see the original description and stuff about the video. We can go back here, and the second option here would be the extra information. So from here we get the demo video once again, and below that we've got a text description about the trick. So it can be just generic stuff about it, or not generic stuff, general stuff about it, and sometimes a very detailed description of what the trick does or what's unique about it. We also have statistics below, which tells you a little bit about the trick, about different risks and how it performs. So you can see its sensitivity, reliability, sensitivity, preciseness, friction range, and also two other bits, which is the inventor and the first scene attributes. Right now they're set to unknown. So clearly I'm not a historian. As we go farther and farther in the future, this is going to be updated for hopefully more accurate results. Speaking of which, if you know the inventor or you are the inventor of such a trick, just let me know. Send me a link to a YouTube video or some other social media with a video in it. And it also has to have the uploaded date attached to it. Once you do that, the inventor will be reset to the video channel name. And the first scene would be a link to the video. If it's YouTube, then it will be like the YouTube video ID. The one restriction is when you send me such a video, of course the date must be earlier than the current date listed here. Otherwise, it's definitely not the first appearance of that trick. Sometimes there are inventors who don't actually release their video, then someone else invents it. That could make things tricky. Maybe we could have a list here, but we have to sort things out. So it's up to inventors to figure out what's going on here. We also have a section for other tricks that hasn't been updated. I'd like to make this a little smarter, where you have different buttons being generated at the bottom for related tricks or stuff of similar something, any similar tricks. And that's pretty much that. So we'll go back to the hub. And lastly, or firstly, we also have a 3D simulator. So let's just tap into here. And it's a little easier to see things in landscapes. Let's do so. From here, you could simply choose, by tapping on the bottom, different variations or versions of the trick. And you can see, again, we have different types here. So if we stick with what we have right now, the straight version, we can add and subtract dominoes as if we have a 3D tutorial. Now, to get a better view of how you place different dominoes, you can actually rotate the entire world, just like so. Be very careful, the small people will get dizzy. That's a joke. You could use 2 fingertips to pan and zoom and go around the world as well and get a better view. In the future, I'd like to add floating measurements to make things a lot clearer about how you're placing dominoes relative to each other. But for now, check this out. I'm just going to place all the dominoes. And if you tap this top right little switch here, it actually activates physics. And you can see that the dominoes start turning over there. And again, while that's going on, you can navigate and get a better view. So you can get some better insights as to how tricks work. Timber! Yeah, it's a bit slow, and this is pretty much as fast as this phone can handle it. Now, the speed of the physics simulation depends on how many dominoes you have and the limitations of your phone. So clearly this is a bit slow right here. Anyways, thanks for sticking around, even if you probably don't have the phone that can actually do this. Let's jump to one more type for now. Let's see. So this one would be how to do a line split using feintures. If we just start that off, it's going to take a long while. We have a line leading up there, and you have a feintures unit going that way. Gosh, hurry up. Come on. And there we go. Now we've suddenly got one line turned into 2. Just like a really weird or disorganized fast food restaurant. And there we go. Of course, real life is much faster than that. It doesn't need to rely on physical hardware and stuff. Anyways, thanks for sticking around, as I mentioned before. There is one more little thing I did not mention. Well, I actually hinted to it. Yeah, you might have noticed I need to fix the landscape version of this to make it a little bit more accessible, but anyways. There's one more bit. This is the hub. If you remember the splash page, it's not actually quite a splash page. It's an activity. You can go back to it by pressing the back button on your phone. Then in the top left, you have another mysterious switch. If you tap on it, it'll ask you for a password. Come on, you know exactly what the password is. Just enter it in, and then press OK. Okay, with that enabled, you just need to do... Oh, well, what do you do? Well, you tap on the Domnibus logo itself, or its name. And that takes you back to the hub. Now, what you have done just there is enable editing for your app. Now, everything right now is local. It's all saved on your phone, so you won't be messing anything up on other people's phones. Just a bit of a warning, you are changing different bits of your app. If you ever want to reset the data in your phone while you're playing around with that, all you have to do is get into your phone settings. Now, before I was so rudely interrupted by my camera just suddenly deciding to stop recording, even though there's plenty of time, I'm going to show you how you can actually clear your app's data, and this will reset everything back to normal. There is a copy of data that is not actually modified, so if you clear everything in storage, so you can see Domnibus, right now it's version 1.4. If you go to storage, you can clear data just like so, and that clears the database that you could modify. Going back to the app just like so, everything should be fine and dandy, and nothing should be well, messed up again. Okay, so from here, let's just choose Fainters. Oh, you might have noticed there's now a new button over here that says New Trick. Just tapping that will create a new trick that appears below. So right now it says to be named, but you can modify that. So you could go into the description. Right now everything is all blank. You don't have a video, you don't have a title, description, and stuff. So let's go to Edit Trick, and suddenly you can modify things. So from the to be named, you could put the title, you can put a bunch of other things here as well. I'm going to cancel. From the video tutorials, right now there's nothing available, and you can also add a timestamp. It'll do exactly what you think it does. Now the thing about this, you can go to Edit Tricks, and then you'll have Video Demo ID and Video Tutorial ID. Now what you want to do here is to paste a link to the video. So if you go to the YouTube app, you can share and choose the option that says Copy Link. And then when you go here and you long click or long tap and press paste, it will extract only the ID bit. And once you have that down, it's going to be able to load the actual video. So as one example, if I were to go to an actual filled out bit, so that would be the Fainters trick, you can see it has the YouTube links here and all the other info. It's not too clear how to edit the timestamp, so the way to do it is just to press and hold on one of them, and then it will pull out an existing timestamp and ask you to edit it. Of course, I'll cancel again. Now if we go back here, the most interesting thing I think is actually modifying the domino setups just like this. What you can do here is numerous things. Let me just pull that out, or actually, let's choose another trick. Let's try the rally. It's a little bit clearer. From here, you might notice now that you've enabled editing, in the top left you can turn on creator mode. So that unlocks a whole bunch of menus. And you might notice one of the dominoes is now yellow. That would be the selected domino, and it says here current domino 6. Now one of the clearer things you could do is unlock the rotation menu, and here you have a different options. The first bit would be choosing an axis of rotation, so it could be horizontal, vertical, or I don't know how you'd call it, the forward and back axis, so going out towards you or going away from you. So you could select one of those. The other one is you can choose 90, 60, 45 degrees, or if you want to, you can edit the degrees directly. And the hand represents which way you're rotating. So you might notice right here we have right hand rotation. If your thumb was the axis, you can curl your right hand's fingers, and that shows you the direction that you're rotating. If you tap that, it goes the left-handed direction, and it's basically rotating the other way. So as an example, let's say 45 degrees, you want to rotate this domino. You could do so. And if you switch the handedness, you can go the other way as well. That's just one thing there. The other thing you could do is translate. So you can access this other menu. And from here you can select a direction by tapping on the button, or you can just drag, and then you could select different directions there. And because my tutorials are relative to domino lengths, widthnesses, and thicknesses, you have an option for length related to the dominoes. Well, they're different edge lengths as such. This bit over here is a multiplier or a fraction, so you can tap that and you go between 1 and a half. Again, you can directly modify the multiplier if you wanted to. So say you want to translate the domino to the right, or to the right by a domino thickness, or actually 3.5 domino thicknesses. You tap that and it moves that many times. Of course, you can undo that. You can go upwards. You can go pretty crazy right there. And whenever you are interested, you can always turn on physics and test that bit out. Other bit would be the zero menu. Tap. A zero menu, you have the option to reset the rotation. That would be doing that. You can also reset its translation, so it ends up at 0.000 again. So you tap that and now it goes right at the center of the world. You can also tap this button, which does basically the second and third button, so it resets the domino completely. Or if you really want to, you can tap this magical looking all zero button, which zeros the entire project. So you probably want to not do that unless you really want to start from scratch. Another bit you could do, or here, let's see. Let's not save changes and enter it back in again, so everything is all normal. From here, you can select the Add Subtract menu, or you can add a domino as usual in the default location, or you could subtract a domino like that. The button though I used most usually would be this clone button. You just tap that, it generates a domino exactly at the same spot as the selected one, and you can modify it. So let's translate upwards, and you can see the original domino is still there, and this new domino that's been cloned is now at the top. Now it's a bit weird that the dominoes are intersecting, so when you turn on physics, they're going to do something quite odd, just like that. Anyways, let's delete that. Oh, oops, I cloned. Okay, instead of that, you can also save. So when you tap save on the setup, it saves the whole thing, and it also copies to clipboard. So it saves the text version of the entire setup, and if you want to save it for future use, because this feature would not be available forever for the Domnibus app, eventually you're going to have to pay for it, so that's why it's still in alpha, so that's why I'm showing you this. You can save your setups in a text file, and later on, if you want to try loading it up, you just you can long click on one of the edit texts right here and tap paste, and it will try to interpret the text as a setup. That's pretty much that. You probably don't want to type it out by hand. Now, the other option we have is the select menu. You just tap that, and from here you can select between the first, second, third dominoes. Being a programmer, the domino indices, or the position, is starting with 0, and then we count upwards from there. You can also jump to the first, middle, and last domino with this button, and most interestingly, you can also insert it, like reorder the dominoes. So say you have selected the last domino, which is actually at domino index 6, we can put it right in the middle at index 3. So we just take it out and reinsert it, and you'll notice as we build, the last domino is now built early. So that's pretty much that for setups. We can also add a scene. So if you created a new trick and you want to add a new scene, you just need to tap the new scene button, or add scene, and it'll create a default menu. So right now we don't have anything green at the bottom. We just add a scene, and there we go. We can now edit this brand new scene however we wish. Now, as mentioned, this is temporarily a free feature. In the future, it's going to be updated, refined, so eventually it's going to be a little bit better, hopefully. You could just give me any ideas you have, and I could consider it, because I'm completely open for improvement. I know this is not perfect. But eventually this will become an available feature that you could pay for in the paid app. In the free app, you're going to have pretty much the same base features, but you would not be able to edit stuff. So that would be something you can look for in the future. Or if you really want to, you can start making setups now and then save them for future use if you decide to buy the paid app. Now, there are a number of features that have been suggested so far, and one of them would be having a way to interact with other users. Once you have that, this is basically a social media app. There are plenty of those outside, and I don't feel comfortable with working on that kind of app just yet, because there are a lot of privacy issues, and also for our age demographic that most of domino topplers are in, it's a bit dangerous. Maybe try to use another social media app if you'd like to find someone to collab with. You can even go through YouTube direct messaging. However, I just want to warn you, be very careful who you meet in real life, because they might not be the person you think they are. Other than that, there were another features for rating systems. So that would be like, I think, rating tricks, rating users. I'm not quite sure about that. It's a bit vague. The other one would be domino product reviews. Now that's something I've slightly done. It's been part of my unboxing videos for bulk dominoes. So that could be a future thing, and we could possibly have other people's videos if they want on there as well. Another one would be adding accounts. Again, that would be letting you come up with an account and make your own stuff, and then you can perhaps open up your account on different devices to look up what you've made. That's going to be somewhere in the far future. I do like the idea of having an online server for communicating with other people, your new ideas and setups, but that's a long ways away. Finally, we also have the option of making a field planner. Now, that would be taking advantage of a cell phone's built-in camera and then coming up with a field on the fly. Now, that's quite interesting, but it's a domain in itself. It's a completely different one, and I think Spryce has a very great app right now for desktop use. So it's going to be a long shot to eventually go out and make that. So I want to work on refining the Domnibus app for now. But of course, if you have any questions, ideas, or come across any glitches or bugs in the app, just leave some feedback in the Play Store, or leave me a comment here, or even send me an email at 22hobbycloud22@gmail.com. If you didn't notice, I actually updated my channel name, and I've been fiddling around a little bit with channel art. So hopefully you can see a little bit more of that coming your way as well later on. Now, besides that, I do have a challenge for you. It'll be a hard one, but it will be worth it. It's about the dower trick. Now, I actually have a lot of footage about it, and I actually produced a couple of tutorials, but it is not perfect, and something always breaks when I try to topple many towers at once. It's far from perfect. As seen in the Breakaway Tower 2.0 tutorial, I show that it's possible to join the tower with up walls, the 3.0 version, and I have a similar goal for dower. Because of my struggles, I am going to open the floor for coming up with a version of this. Here are the challenge requirements. Number 1. The width and thickness of the tower should be around 1 domino length. Dominoes may stick out past this limit, but the tower frame should try to obey this rule. Again, you can look at the Breakaway Tower 2.0 and 1.0 tutorials for a reference at how much you can break that rule. Number 2. The tower must scale by 1 domino thickness and 1 length per module. In other words, it should grow at the same rate as a breakaway tower. Number 3. The tower must be able to join with the breakaway tower. In other words, the breakaway tower should be able to set off the tower at the top, and the tower should be able to set off the breakaway tower at the bottom. Both towers should not collapse fully in these cases. You just have the movement going through the towers. So the breakaway tower goes upwards, so of course the tower goes downwards through the tower. Number 4. To guarantee some level of reliability, please post a video of the tower working 5 times, connecting with the breakaway tower at the top, with both towers at least 4 modules high. And 5. If you think you've got it, post a comment below linking to the YouTube video that you've made. If it satisfies these requirements and it is relatively elegant in design, your tower will be added into the app, receive full credit, and you will receive also a digital Bulk Dominoes gift card, good for $100 US. The deadline for this contest is April 22nd, 2019, and good luck, and thanks for watching.